A massive steel gate, scarred and implacable, swings open at the start of Sergei Loznitsa's Two Prosecutors. It is the Soviet Union. 1937. The height of Stalin's terror, and everything that follows feels like it happens in the shadow of that gate. The waiting, the humiliation, the slow, grinding erasure of a man who dared to believe the system he served might actually care about justice. Loznitsa, the Belarusian-born filmmaker with Ukrainian roots, has become one of Cannes' most reliable presences. His debut fiction feature, My Joy, premiered in competition in 2010. And Two Prosecutors marks his 10th appearance at the Crozet, a remarkable record for any director. It arrives as his first narrative feature since Donbass in 2018, making its Cannes debut a moment freighted with expectation. The film is based on a novel by Georgy Demidov, a Gulag survivor whose 1969 manuscript was only published in 2009, and the source material carries the weight of lived nightmares. Demidov wrote from inside the machine, and his prose translates state violence into something viscerally textural, the kind of horror you feel on your skin before your mind processes it. The story centers on Kornev, a young prosecutor newly appointed to his post, played by Alexander Kuznetsov, in a performance that, depending on which critical eye you trust, is either rivetingly eloquent or uncomfortably stiff. Kuznetsov brings a boxer's profile and an incredulous, unblinking stare to the role, a man who is youthful, principled, and dangerously unprepared for how thoroughly a system can devour someone who believes in it. When Kornev receives a letter written in blood by a prisoner, a once respected intellectual named Stepniak, he resolves to investigate, eventually carrying the case all the way to Moscow. There, in a monumental municipal building, at the top of what feels like an endlessly ascending staircase, his distant superior Vyshinsky, a blank-faced bureaucrat played by Anatoly Belly, receives supplicants in short, ruthless meetings governed by a schedule that leaves no room for conscience. Loznitsa shoots the film in the Academy ratio, a deliberate choice that compresses the frame and emphasizes the claustrophobia of a hermetically sealed bureaucratic world. His longtime cinematographer Oleg Mutu renders everything in a desaturated, low-contrast palette of muted grays that whispers at the horror without ever quite screaming it. The production design by Jurij Grigorovich and Aldis Meinertz is meticulous, a prison courtyard built of rickety scaffolding that resembles a gigantic tic-tac-toe board with every square an X. Christian Verbeek's classical score lends an almost absurdist pomposity to the proceedings, the brass section occasionally parping with a Tati-esque comic solemnity. Much of the film's fascination operates at precisely this level of ironic tension, the beautiful framing of ugly acts, the formal rigor applied to moral chaos. In one of its most quietly devastating early sequences, an elderly prisoner is assigned to burn a mountain of unopened petitions addressed to dear comrade Stalin. He is given a single match. He steals one letter, the one written in blood, and that small, statistically improbable gesture of mercy sets the entire story in motion. Loznitsa has always been drawn to the machinery of totalitarianism, and here he constructs the Soviet apparatus as a labyrinth of locked gates, security checkpoints, and peepholes through which Kornev must navigate, layer by excruciating layer. The film's debt to Robert Bresson's A Man Escaped is legible in its process-obsessed mise-en-scène. And the longer Kornev spends waiting on hard-backed chairs and climbing institutional staircases, the more insistently the ghost of Kafka haunts the corridors. Critical reception at Cannes has been divided. Some reviewers have celebrated Two Prosecutors as Loznitsa's strongest fiction feature in years, a work of austere, almost tactile literariness that evokes slim paperback classics by Camus or Orwell, where the pages are age-spotted, but the insights remain painfully fresh. The film's refusal of dramatic surprise, in this reading, is precisely the point. The banal predictability of Kornev's mounting humiliations mirrors the grinding logic of the system that produces them. There are moments of dark, sardonic humor, particularly in the exchanges with the self-satisfied prison warden, and the film earns comparisons to Loznitsa's 2018 archival documentary The Trial, in which he exposed the Stalinist tendency to hollow out truth from within. Others have been less generous. For these critics, The film functions more as a reminder of Loznitsa's superior earlier work than as a compelling achievement in its own right. The performances, particularly of the supporting cast and extras, strike some as wooden and unconvincing in ways that undermine the film's ironic wit. Where a gentle creature from 2017 built a near-mythical, genuinely unsettling fairy tale around a Russian prison town, Two Prosecutors is said to keep its existential terror at arm's length, observed from behind glass, rather than felt in the marrow. The comparison to his archival masterpiece State Funeral, from 2019 inches, which Stalin's funeral procession became a profound meditation on the moral failure of an entire civilization, is one that Two Prosecutors invites and cannot fully survive. That film achieved something rare. It let the historical record implicate itself, and the result was genuinely shattering. Two Prosecutors, by contrast, approaches its shattering material with a formal restraint that some find moving and others find inert. Both verdicts contain truth. The film is undeniably crafted, undeniably serious, and undeniably relevant in a moment when, as one scene has a character rail against a culture in which experts are replaced by ignorant charlatans, the shock of the familiar registers with uncomfortable force. Two Prosecutors opens in theaters on the 20th of March 2026. What do you think is Loznitsa's cool, formal distance from the horror the point, or does it keep audiences from truly feeling the weight of history? And do you believe a film can be aesthetically masterful while emotionally restrained and still earn its place among the greats? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into the films shaping the conversation this awards season, hit like and subscribe. There is a lot more coming.